CEDAW. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women is an international treaty adopted in 1979 by the United Nations General Assembly. Described as an international Bill of Rights for women, it was instituted on 3rd September 1981 and has been ratified by 189 states. Over 50 countries that have ratified the convention have done so subject to certain declarations, reservations, and objections, including 38 countries who rejected the enforcement of Article 29, which addresses means of settlements for disputes concerning the interpretation or application of the convention. The convention has a similar format to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, both with regard to the scope of its substantive obligations and its internal monitoring mechanisms. The convention is structured in 6 parts with 30 articles total. Part 1, Articles 1 to 6, focuses on non-discrimination, sex stereotypes, and sex trafficking. Article 1 defines the discrimination against women in the following terms: any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex which has the effect or purpose of impairing, nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise by women, irrespective of their marital status, on a basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, and cultural, or civil, or any other field. Part 2, Articles 7 to 9 outlines women's rights in the public sphere with an emphasis on political life, representation, and rights to nationality. Part 3, Articles 10 to 14, describes the economic and social rights of women, particularly focusing on education, employment, and health. Part 3 also includes special protections for rural women and the problems they faced. Article 4, Article 15 and 16 outlines women's rights to equality in marriage and family life along with the right to equality before the law. Article 5, Articles 17 to 22, Part 5, Articles 17 to 22 establishes the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women as well as states parties reporting procedure. Part 6, Articles 23 to 30 describes the effects of the Convention on other treaties, the commitment of the states parties, and the administration of the Convention. Many reservations have been entered against certain articles of the Convention. There are also some reservations that are not specific to an article within the Convention, but rather a general reservation to all aspects of the Convention that will violate a stated principle. For example, Mauritania made a reservation stating it approved the Convention in each and every one of its parts which are not contrary to Islamic Sharia. A number of these reservations, especially those entered by Islamic states parties, are subject to much debate. Article 28 of the Convention states that a reservation incompatible with the object and purpose of the present Convention shall not be permitted. As a result, many states parties have entered objections to the reservations of other state parties. The optional protocol to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women is a side agreement to the Convention which allows its parties to recognize the competence of the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women to consider complaints from individuals. The optional protocol was adopted by the UN General Assembly on 6 October 1999 and entered into force on 22 December 2000. Currently, it has 80 signatories and 109 parties. Controversy around CEDAW becomes from two opposite directions: social and religious conservatives, which claim that CEDAW is seeking to impose a liberal, progressive, feminist standard on countries in detriment of traditional values, and radical feminists, who are skeptical of the power or even desire of CEDAW to radically transform societies and truly liberate women, and claim that CEDAW adheres to a form of weak liberal feminism similar to other mainstream organizations.